Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a little state of human design update. I've been enjoying doing these, and this one I'm actually going to be looking at and answering questions from the Facebook groups. So I'm still banned from Human Design Interactive. It's been about a month. I have not heard anything back from anyone about that, which is unfortunate. I think I know why I was banned. I think a manifestor banned me because I wasn't informed, I wasn't warned, I wasn't notified, there was zero information transfer at all, and I have a hard time imagining that a non-manifestor would not inform in that way, but you never know. But in any case, so I'm banned there, so I'm going to be reading from some of the other human design groups. So let's take a look. Okay, State of Human Design, Wednesday, March 24th, 2021. Let's start with the Human Design Catalyst group. I'm not going to give any names for people who ask the questions or put comments here. I'm just going to, and if you want to be credited, please give me a shout out and I'll post it in the comments here. So let me see some. Ooh, okay, let me see some of the good. Okay. So here's a comment about Marianne Winiger, and in a YouTube video interview, she says that after 25 years of deconditioning, she's gotten to a place where internally, it's a space of nothingness she dwells in. She says that she comes to a place of seeing that all is perfect as it is, there is no right or wrong. If that's not innocence, I don't know what is. Oh, she has her personality sun in the 25th gate, at the gate of innocence. That's really sweet. My personality earth is in innocence. And yeah, I like that. I mean, I'm a desire motivation person, so it's interesting. How do you have the gate of innocence and then your transference is innocence? What is desire? Well, desire is about locking into things. And it's the same as a sixth line person who's a desire being. The sixth line is locking into their own unique perspective and not being swayed to be homogenized. Someone with innocence is locking into their own personal integrity and not letting themselves become corrupted. That would be the desire motivation of innocence. The innocence motivation with gate 25 would be more like, I'm going to innocently observe what happens when I'm corrupted. Or not. Either way. Because it doesn't fall on one side or the other. Okay, here's another question from the Human Design Catalyst group. So I've noticed lots of movements to combine law of attraction language, manifesting, having it all, etc., with deconditioning through human design. I've also noticed people in this group tend to be pretty close to source material when it comes to HD. What are thoughts in this group on combining these two areas, human design plus law of attraction in a nutshell? Are they poor bedfellows or can it work? Well, that's a great question, and I think people that get really into the law of attraction stuff typically are very much in the seven-centered. And it's a seven-centered trap, the same as the healing trap. I was reading a great quote from Ron. I'm cross of healing, and how healing is such a seven-centered thing. How the cross of healing is not even about healing the body, it's about healing the spirit. But regardless, the whole idea of healing is so different from the nine-centered concept of alignment and being aligned to what is correct for you. It's like the cross of healing is a really seven-centered cross in some sense, and the cross of alignment is a really nine-centered cross in some sense. Because I'm hearkening back to this time of healing, which is really about control, such a seven-centered paradigm. If you want to know how to heal, well, sit still. Gate 52 is in the gate of healing, So it's about control in some sense. And it's more than that, of course. It's have integrity, like I was mentioning with gate 25. But in any case, healing is such a seven-centered thing, and so is manifesting, and so is having it all through creating your reality and all of this stuff. Now, there's a great response from Lars Hogland. I'm going to give some credit to people's names. I mean, Stephanie Cross is the one who asked this. I don't think they'll mind. I just am careful to not put people's names out there unless they want them to be, because more often I've had somebody be annoyed that I mentioned them in a video than the other way around. In any case, Lars Hogland, what you attract depends on the frequency of your aura, and that depends on your level of deconditioning. Sure, there's a law of attraction, but it can't be mind manifest. Correctness is not intent, it's alignment. Yeah, that's great. Correctness is not intent, it's alignment. Yeah, it reminds me of the whole, I came up with a quip about intentions a while back. I said, intentions mean everything before you act, nothing after. Same kind of idea. Okay, Lars Hogland. Yeah, this has been kind of my understanding. Oh, sorry, Stephanie responds to Lars. My understanding of how human design functions. When people throw in law of attraction talk, I see there's a red flag. But I don't want to get rigid either or dismiss the wisdom they have to offer. Lars responds, Stephanie, sometimes the words match the frequency of the self. Other times, not so much. It's a great point. It's what Lacan called full versus empty speech. And this is also, if you have any throat gates, you can tell the full speech because the throat gate will be your voice actually speaking. Of course, if you have undefined throat, it's a little bit different. But if you're a self-projected projector, then literally just your throat gate, that is your definition, or your throat gates that are parts of your definition, are, the words can match the frequency of the self. Lars continues, our bodies, authorities, know how to differentiate and bypass the wishful thinking of the mind, but it takes de-learning and relearning and deconditioning and reconditioning, and then maybe through serendipitous circumstance we get to attract what is correct for us and to be able to deal with it in a, quote, meaningful way. Jessica Walsh comments, exactly, there's no rising above a shitty vibration through the mind. This always perplexed me. The law of attraction is a very real physical law, but there's no shortcut. You will attract from exactly where you are, whether or not you know where that is. You first need to do the work. Optimism is wonderful, but there's not a one and done quick fix. Yeah. Other comments. It is simple. They're not compatible in any way, shape, or form. Another comment. I think they are very compatible with a few caveats. Frequency is everything. No matter what your mind wants, the life will bring you what you need for alignment. And 2, conditioned wants can be and will be delivered as a means to decondition, so your manifestations can become a trap if they weren't correct. Another comment. I was learning law of attraction before HD. For me, I couldn't force a thought or belief to attract what I wanted. However, I naturally manifested things into reality at these moments that I was in alignment and flowing in my signature theme of peace. This is a manifester here. I think there are ways to find moments of alignment that let in what we want to manifest, even without fully being on the deconditioning and alignment journey. But the more I've worked on freeing myself from conditioning and tuning into my authority, I find I attract all the things more easily. Yeah, I mean, this is the point. The point is, you can be extremely wealthy. You can have sex with 10,000 people, like Wilt Chamberlain. You can be an absolute billionaire, like Jeff Bezos, who I've met multiple times, and I've played Wii Sports with the dude. I've had multiple conversations at private parties with him, everything. These people are not different from us. They're not. In fact, we are different from them. Meaning the human design freaks are the ones who are actually finding true satisfaction and actually finding true peace and actually finding true success and true surprise, not as an intermittent thing, but as a deepening into and as a frequency that grows and expands and so on. And I've met these people. You can have all of the sex and money and power and recognition and prestige. You can go through the 9 Enneagram types and see what each one of them wants, and you can get all those things. And you can look at all the Enneagram types and see what they want, and look at it from the OP perspective, where all the EJs want respect and all the IPs, and so on. And everyone has their needs met, and all of the fundamental basic human needs. You can look at it from all these different levels. And none of that is human design. None of that actually gives you your signature. They're all stand-ins for the signature. They're all metaphors for the signature. They're all, down the line of the game of telephone 3 or 4 or 5 generations. And so people think that being famous is going to bring them the success as a frequency to taste, as a projector. But it's not true. You have a famous millionaire projector who gets all the success and recognition in the world, and yet all of that success and recognition is a mere shadow of what true success and recognition is, which is something that can only happen through following strategy and authority, because that is the only thing that will align you to the correct sequence of events. And most people are so deep in the wrong sequence of events. I mean, if you're a generator, good for you. You can start following your authority pretty much right away and your life will change. But if you're a projector, it's going to take 7 years minimum. I mean, everyone, it takes 7 years, but for projectors, it takes 7 years to get out of the wrong sequence of events that they've gotten locked into. and the wrong crowd of people. If you're undefined G-center, it takes 7 years to get all these wrong people out of your life. You're being polluted and contaminated with all these wrong identities. Even worse if you have gate 29, because then you just say yes to everything without actually following strategy and authority for it. So yeah, all of this stuff is out there. You can use law of attraction. There are people who are wildly successful through law of attraction and absolutely miserable. I've seen it. I've seen them crash and burn. I have seen these people. It's why rich people commit suicide. It's why Lacan wouldn't treat the wealthy, because the wealthy only know how to buy, not how to pay. And if you want to do human design or Lacanian psychoanalysis, you have to pay. Here's another comment. I've law of attraction with tremendous success and burned myself out with those very manifestations. Now my only intention is peace and to fulfill my purpose. I take naps and get more of what I want, which is peace and prosperity. Vision board looks totally different than before. Yeah. Here's another comment. If you see my achievements, it's clear that it's possible to set your sights on things and get them. When I found little satisfaction in that in my 20s, finding the things that were correct for me and pursuing them became my focus. The great thing about human design is it begins with that, fundamentally, getting into alignment and flow. And I'm right, probably means and variable, right variable. So many times I don't know why, and I'm acting on faith. So the Abraham and Seth work is indeed powerful in my experience, and I do tend to work with some of its principles and methods. My earlier comment was true, I'm not sure which that was, for when I was facing an opportunity, and it was a little shocking for me to follow through with what my gut told me to do, because I really enjoyed many things about working with the group involved in that production. Oh yeah, that was following strategy and authority to leave a manifestation group. It seems the path that's evolved away from that potential path has been very rich, so I can't say that I have any regrets. Yeah. Okay, lots and lots of comments. I put my comment, I said, I give law of attraction folks 2 speeches when they're my client. The first is the 7-centered versus 9-centered speech, where we talk about the 7-centered goal of being the apex predator, dominating, omnipotence, megalomaniacal narcissism, etc. That was the human project for 90,000 years, how to become the top, the leader, using the mind to dominate everyone else, and how tricky the mind is by building up good intentions and so on to protect oneself from clearly seeing one's own killer monkey instincts. So that's the whole 7-centered paradigm, and that's where law of attraction comes in, which is essentially using magic to increase your material circumstances and to become a top predator. Then I compare that to the 9-centered, resource-based, right variable, and so on, which is the new paradigm. After that, the second speech I give is how both human design and law of attraction stuff is about, in some sense, letting something else do the work. In human design, it's letting the aura do the talking and following strategy and authority. In law of attraction is letting magical rituals and such take that place. And how both are experiments, but you can't experiment with both at the same time. If you're using your mind to attempt to create your reality, that circumvents the strategy and authority of human design, which is about experimenting with letting the body make decisions so that you enter into the right sequences of events that brings you to the right experiences for you, which your mind might not think are the right experiences, but in hindsight will eventually come around. And there was a reply, I appreciate thoughtfulness, yada yada. It's a very long one. This person was saying, okay, there's a very long comment. I am not able to reply to this. It's so long, but it's basically this person saying that they manifest through their emoting, their vibrating, their healing, and their breathing, and they're not going to stop doing any of those things. And so as long as they're doing those things, they will be manifesting. Well, sure, but my point is, I may be really lucky, because about 1 year into human design, first of all, I'm lucky in that I already had a very, very terrible lead up to my human design experience. I found human design in 2006. It was starting in 2010 or 2011. I had a number of crises. By 2013, I had a number of breakdowns. 2014 was hellish. 2015, I had a super intense, in-depth human design reading, and that was the beginning of my experiment and began my deconditioning. I was hospitalized numerous times from 2015 to 2016. I was given crazy diagnoses for all sorts of health issues. And these are from conventional doctors, not from homeopaths. And although I also went to them, my great homeopaths, shout out to Richard Mann, 76 years old, incredible homeopath. In any case, I had people telling me, I had my primary care physician saying I had adult onset asthma and GERD. I was being diagnosed with all sorts of issues and anxiety and this and that. And given all these drugs for it, I was diagnosed with anaphylactic shock and adult onset allergies. I was ending up hospitalized, and they weren't sure if it was because of anaphylaxis or if it was because of anxiety attacks. Terrible stuff was happening to me all through 2015 and 2016. Then at the end of this 1 year, my first year of deconditioning, right at the end, right as I came up on the anniversary, actually 3 months before, maybe it was 9 months in, I would say. 9 months in to that deconditioning, and maybe 88 days before the anniversary of my human design, kind of initiation on September 12th, 2015, I entered into an 8-day experience. Almost exactly 8 days. It started to fade by the 7th, but it was the 8th day that it was truly over. And it was not an experience with the voice. It was not a mystical experience. It was not an encounter experience. It was simply the first time in my life, which, by the way, some people, and I'm agnostic on this point, think it may have been from the Stachybotrys cartorum that I was living in a place that had a 10-foot long Stachybotrys cartorum colony that we discovered, and I moved out right after that. But right around the time, right before I discovered it, I started to have these crazy experiences, including my 8-day experience, which was basically like an 8-day nonstop psychedelic experience. And in that psychedelic experience, which I've talked about elsewhere, I could look outside and I could see the tree, and even though it looked still, I could tell it was moving, and it was like being able to see in high definition and to see with my peripheral vision. It was very similar to previous experiences of depersonalization that I had had. I had the year before, I had the first time in my life, the worst anxiety attacks ever, where I had fainting and loss of all peripheral vision and room darkening and hypersensitivity to noise and sound. And, I had I had so much adrenaline, it was so tense that I slept for like 16 hours straight, and my kidneys, or I guess my adrenals, were so sore. All this crazy physiological stuff was happening to me. By the way, it's because I'm on the cross of healing. Your incarnation cross kind of shows how you will decondition, if you've been conditioned. Of course, if you're raised with human design from the beginning, it's a little different. But if you were like the rest of us and you have to decondition, your incarnation cross kind of gives you hints. And people on the cross of healing tend to get very sick when they decondition. But in any case, this whole series of experiences I had kind of culminated in 2016, in June of 2016, the end of June, beginning of July 2016, right before Pokemon Go came out, or right when it was coming out. And that was an experience where, for the first time in my life, I was able to fully experience my design. Like, so fully that I would look at a television set during that time, and it was the equivalent, if you've ever been on mushrooms or acid and looked at TV, and you can see every single frame, and you can see the lines moving, that's how screens looked to me during this week. I'm not kidding when I say that, I got there and then I lost it, and I sometimes get back there, but basically this was a whole week. I would go to sleep, I would wake up, whatever, where I had no internal monologue, no internal dialogue. The second I would start to think about something and go, I wonder what's happening, I would just flex this muscle that was like this, it was like zoop, just made the thoughts go away. People would ask me a question and I would answer them. And nobody knew, you know what I mean? Like, I made really good eye contact. I was, little did they know I was studying the pores of skin on their face. But like, I seemed to be the most attentive person. I met someone new this week, this guy Mikey. We never hung out before, and we went out for a drink. And after like 3 hours of hanging out, he told me, Jonah, you are the best listener of anyone I've ever met. And it was because that during that whole time, I was in the middle of this experience where my mind was not remembering, or like someone would say something and I would think for a moment I would remember something it reminded me of, then let it go. So it was the first time in my life, that someone would say something and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that movie. And they finished talking and I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I saw that movie too. I would just be like, huh. And they'd be like, yeah. And we would just sit in that silence and just experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I got to this place where, I can now reference that 8-day experience, which is so vivid. And that 8-day experience, I can reference what it was like to have sex. I had sex once during that time, and it was very different than the mental sex that people mostly have, where they're so in their head the whole time. I mean, actually, the body doesn't enjoy sex as much as the mind does. It's pretty funny. So I had sex during that time. I mean, I smoked pot during that time, and I hadn't smoked for weeks before, so I would normally be incredibly high. But instead, I got to experience what it's like to be incredibly high with no mind, which was almost zero effect on me. Like, smoking pot almost didn't impact me. My body temperature was a solid 1 to 2 degrees higher this whole time, and I was like sweating, but I was also extremely... I mean, it's like similar to Kundalini awakening and all that stuff, but there was nothing mental going on. I described it later as the infernal gears of my mind stopping, or as threading my dominant introverted intuition through my inferior sensing and back up again, because I noticed that I could be completely in my physical body with no anxiety, with no nervousness, with no agitation, just purely feeling, the wind on my cheeks. It was kind of like being in a trance state, being in a slight trance state. Well, anyway, I mention all of this just to say I know what it's like to live my design. That was 8 days of living my design, and that was 8 days of being able to make decisions fully as myself without any interference from the mind. And then the mind came back, and then I regressed. I mean, I got to the end, and then I couldn't stay there. I wasn't able to keep that. And every now and then I get glimpses of that, and I get back to there. But I can't stay there anymore. I was there for 8 days straight. I thought I would be there the rest of my life. I was able to do work still, and at work, I wouldn't even think about anything until I'd sit down at the computer, and then I would find myself automatically doing things, and then I would be watching myself, and I would see that my mind was actually able to calculate and to speak and to do all these things, and yet I wasn't involved with it at all. I was just watching it happen. It was really an interesting experience. But I mention all that just to say that during that point in time, if you would have asked me if I had an intention to manifest something, I would have just completely laughed at you, because I was so in my response. Now again, we were getting comments from manifestors. Well, sure, if you're a manifestor, go for it. You're a leftover of the seven-centered. Manifestors are the most seven-centered there is. I don't even think it's possible for a manifestor to be nine-centered. You know what I mean? I guess they are technically, but their way of being, Ra's way of being was still extremely seven-centered, all about scarcity of resources and protection of resources and dominating and trying to make money through going after anyone who messes with his revenue stream. It's terrible stuff, and it's been carried on by Jovian Archive, which will viciously try to take down with copyright anyone who shares this information and so on. Extremely seven-centered paradigm and not at all appropriate for our nine-centered world. But it's just, it makes sense. It's manifestor world. I'm sure that there's some quad-right manifestor out there who's going to prove me wrong, but in general, the manifestors are kind of the leftovers of the seven-centered. But okay, so in any case, I've experienced what it's like to really fully live my design, and then I've lost it and gone back to a different way of being. And, I can tell. I'm not going to start doing law of attraction. You know what I mean? I'm not going to start sitting around going, here's my vision board, and here's what I want to manifest in my life through using the power of my mind to create my reality. I'm going to mute for 1 second. We going to the cafe? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's leave in 10. That'll be great. Let's do a couple more and we'll go. Okay, so a couple more answers. I'm just trying to answer some questions here. Does anyone in here have gate 57 or know someone who does, or maybe even bridges it for them as a bridging gate? Can you share what that's like? Yeah, gate 57. What is gate 57 like as a bridge? So one person says, I've done readings for someone with a small split with 57 as the bridge. Very intuitive, doing channeling and things. Well, yeah, it's obvious because people who have the split make their entire life about that. And the basic assumption when you start a human design reading for someone is that everything that they present as is their openness. So you have an undefined solar plexus person, and they present as someone who's going to bring you opportunities for pleasure and excitement and enjoyment. They're going to bring you sex and food and good smells and pleasant things. And of course, that's not them. It's nothing about them. It's the role of the defined solar plexus. But you find an undefined solar plexus person, they're completely wrapped up in being emotional, in being relational, in being intimate. Oh no, I don't have a fear of intimacy. I love intimacy. No, I don't have a fear of connection. I love that deep connection. And yet that undefined solar plexus person is living a lie. You find an undefined ego person who's a competitive athlete, right? Yeah, you find someone with bridging gate 57. My good friend C, the artist, C. Alex Clark, has that as a bridging gate. And C is probably extremely wrapped up in being intuitive and also just being smart. I see, I mean, obviously that's not where intelligence comes from, which is, I think, gate 50, right? But there is something, intelligence in the spleen. And so being smart, being intuitive, being mystical, being aware, all of these things, this very much becomes wrapped up in the identity of that person. Let's see. So let's see some more responses. I thought there was one from Divine. I really like her responses. I'm looking for it. She's been MVP on the Facebook groups, so shout out to Divine. Dive in. Dive in is another way of doing it. That's pretty cool. Die, like Diane. And then Ven. I always think of Vino as, dive in. That's pretty funny. Maybe that's what it's probably supposed to be. It's not supposed to be Divine, it's dive in. That's so great. I never realized that. Okay, well, I guess Dive In didn't comment on this thread. I thought she did. But yeah, there's some good comments here. I don't have too much to say about that. Let's see what else we got. Can online sex fill the connection void? This was shared by one of my friends on here, Isa. And she's asking, can it? Has it? Bring to mind anything from the human design sexuality manuals or of broader themes like touch and artificial shores? I love it when you talk mechanics to me. Here inside my second line barriers and repelling aura, I am a sex positive space. I love that, a second line manifester who is the sex positive space. Hell yeah. Simon, another manifester, comments, this reminds me of those videos of people talking to some robot named Sophia and fantasizing about making a robot smart enough that it can feel and agile enough to move like we can. I believe it's a waste of time. I don't believe a robot can ever replace human connection. Maybe to some degree if it's a vibrator. Nice. Oh, and then a human design history footnote from Isa. Ra taught the design of sexuality 10 times over, several years before he introduced type and authority. Yeah, good point. In some sense, it's more fundamental than type and authority. Okay, I'm gonna find send a quick message. One momento. Okay. I'd love to hear others' understanding of what is different about having their personality sun gate in an undefined center versus a defined center, and hanging versus part of channel. How are these different? I think I can understand a bit what it means for the sun to be in an undefined center, and that energy will be waiting for activation by the other. But what about if it's a hanging gate in a defined center? Is that energy still part of someone's aura or consistent life force? And if it's in a complete channel, would that mean this person would identify more with the channel's theme than the gate's theme? Okay, well, so yeah, first thing is in the undefined center, it's going to be a huge, I've been calling them not self gates, but really I think they're called conditioning receptors. It's going to be a huge openness to conditioning from others. It's still going to be you, but it's going to be part of you that's dormant that can only really be activated in collaboration. So it really shows how interrelational we all are and how much human design shows us that we're just built to be interdependent and that we're not really built to be dependent. Even if you're single definition, even if you're no definition, you're still built to plug into other people, and those are the hanging gates. So what does it mean? What if it's a hanging gate in a defined center? Well, yeah, it's still dormant in some sense, and that it's waiting to plug in, but it's more just an attribute. It's not part of the life force or the aura. The consistent life force or aura is only the channels. If it's in a complete channel, would that person identify more with the channel's theme than the gate theme? No, my personality sun is in gate 46. I identify very strongly with gate 46. And I don't necessarily identify more with the channel theme. It's not that the gate 46 stops, it's just that as a fundamental building block, it's still there as an attribute, and then it's also continually animated in the life force of my aura. So you feel it by stepping into my aura. Here's a comment from Denise Utsak. The most helpful way of looking at it, just a moment. Denise Usak, the most helpful way of looking at it for me, and the way that's finally showed to make sense, has been to look at the dormant gates from the point of wisdom center, where, and the themes I go to school. So not here waiting for activation as if there's something missing, but giving a theme for discernment regarding that center, i.e., what ideas are of value to contemplate or answer for the benefit of the collective. Otherwise, it's a pressure to indiscriminately try to answer any question. Oh yeah, that's gate 4 in the undefined ajna. So the pressure to indiscriminately, because it's under pressure from the head, to indiscriminately try to answer any question, resulting in a waste of energy and so on. Or maybe she's talking about a throat gate, I'm not sure. The hanging cross gate, on the other hand, is shown to be a consistent part of the life force. I often observe my 12. That also has started to show who is in fact able to listen to me or not. Most of the time, it is no one worth telling to. Once in a while, someone will have the ability to break what I call the dam. Other times, I watch deaf 22s too busy in their own thing to even hear reason. Yeah, I can relate to that. I have hanging gate 12 and undefined throat, and I'll try talking to someone, and as soon as I realize that it's not worth it, I just stop talking and I have nothing else to say to them, and we're not friends. So the difference between the dormant and hanging for me may be, with the dormant, I can know which questions and answers are in fact worthwhile without having to do the thinking or answering myself. The hanging, on the other hand, is where I may have something to say, but no one or someone to hear it. Very good distinction. A hanging gate in a defined center is looking for the other. A hanging gate in an undefined center, you don't really have to do anything with it. It's a conditioning receptor which will occasionally become active, and you can kind of surf that wave of activity before it becomes inactive again and uses up all of its energy. But you don't really have to. Okay. Let's do some easier ones. So this is all from Human Design Catalyst. Oh wait. Hi, does anyone use the sidereal HD chart or know anything about whether we should use it in conjunction with tropical HD? The answer from Nina Motoresi. Only if you're a third line in tropical. It's kind of a joke, I think, because they make mistakes all the time. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to check out the Human Design and Astrology group really quick, and I'm going to sign off and head to the cafe to do some work. Human Design and Astrology. Hello, it's my first time posting. I'm hoping someone can provide clarity in terms of career. I apologize in advance for length of the post. I'm trying to give as many details. A little backstory, so on. This person has ADHD, was raised in a cult, has complex PTSD, never stayed in a job for longer than 2 years. They're going from being the superstar to being demonized. I realized the 5-1 profile clicked, yada yada. I would really appreciate anyone who has anything to say that sticks out in the chart. Okay, so and then she posted her astrology chart, Gene Keys chart, human design chart. Yeah, you're a 5-1, a fifth line. Fifth line has to, I'll say the fifth line has to provide practical solutions to the problems that come to them. Once you have embraced someone, even just listen to their problems, you are obligated to offer solutions. The obligations in particular are going to be through your channels, e.g. 4323, obligated. Yeah, so I'm saying the fifth line is to provide practical solutions to the problems that come to them. If you embrace someone, even just listening to their problems, you're kind of obligated to offer solutions. Then I say what the obligations are. Remain empowered yourself as you explain yourself to the collective. Let's see. Obligated for the not self for you is going to be in the bridging gates. 16, 8, 12, so look at it. Okay. Yeah, I just pointed out where the bridging gates were, and I talked about how the fifth line operates, and said, Okay, well, I don't have much to say to that one. Okay. Hey everyone, question for you. Though I crave connection with others, I find that I'm often exhausted after a couple hours of hanging out with someone, possibly from my open solar plexus and general sensitivity from gate 19. But there's one person this doesn't happen with. I can happily be around this person, and so on. I don't get upset. I can spend all this time together. Why is it? And this is a manifesting generator 6-2 talking about a generator 4-6, posting both of their charts and asking why they are comfortable together. I don't know that there's any comfort signature. I'm looking at their charts. Let's see what their electromagnetics are. The thing is, I don't usually trust people's assessment in that way. Well, okay, they both have undefined solar plexus, and they have 1949 as an electromagnetic, which is very affectionate and nice. So I would say it's probably that 1949. You both have, you have 1949 together as electromagnetic, which is about affection, cuddles, and comfort. So that could be part of it also. Okay, they have 1949, that might be, they both have undefined solar plexus, and they have 1949 that comes together. Okay, it's very affectionate. I'm a 1-3 splenic projector. I'm an insane overthinker, Virgo sun, blah, blah, 4 major Virgo placements, 12th house, 8th house, okay. My body is loud, but it still sounds like a foreign language. Finding out type and authority, I can't translate it, I'm frustrated. Any tips for health? How do I work with my own overthinking to hear my splenic authority better? Okay, this is a person who only has the 5710, and they're a 1-3 on the cross of Eden. No tips, just wanted to say hi. Virgo sun, Aries moon projector here. What an interesting mix of traits. Okay, splenic projector 2, following. One person points out the human design PHS diet is good for health and fixing your brain. Funny way of putting it. You can get advanced variable info here. Okay. Overthinking can come from open head center. Yeah, good. For projectors need to remember they amplify sacral energy of those around them, so be sure to spend time in your own aura to discharge. That's good. The splenic voice is soft and speaks once. It's an experiment. Spend time allowing thoughts and questions to float away. I also have an open head center and am a 1-3. Yeah, there's a great little bit of advice from Lars Haglund. He says if you have undefined head and ajna, get used to saying don't know, don't care. That's like your inner mantra. Your kind of mantra of don't know, don't care. And yeah, just noticing when you feel pressure to look something up, to look up who an actor is or what the name of that movie is or when that movie came out, and just don't do it. Don't do any of that. Can you tell in a human design chart where someone would feel the need to be 100% original? Like if they're compared to someone else, it makes their blood boil, it makes them feel completely boring and useless. Well, that is the Enneagram 4, so I think anyone can be a 4, and that's going to be the mind. It has nothing to do with what's really in the chart. But I could imagine somebody with individuality who's an Enneagram 4 might exacerbate it. Yeah, I bet people are going to say individual. Yep. So Dominus Silvestris says starting with individual definitions. Yeah, and then someone says the 8-1 channel is like that. Wants to be original. And that the 2010 also doesn't like criticism. And Diven responds, yes, channels between identity and throat are sensitive to criticism. 8-1 and 10-20 are individual circuitry, not designed to be influenced by the collective. And then Rosie says, I have both. And Diven says, yeah, a creative original who's empowered in the now. Love it. Yeah. And this person posted their chart, plenty of individual circuitry. Yeah. Gate 1, someone else responds gate 1 and individual circuitry. Someone else says undefined ego. Well, okay, so undefined ego, yeah, because of being threatened. The being threatened by it part is the undefined ego. You can have a defined ego and then be really touchy, but the thing is, I don't think people with individual circuitry are necessarily touchy about being compared to others. I mean, that's an Enneagram 4 thing. The person she's describing is definitely an Enneagram 4, and you find Enneagram 4 people in all sorts of different situations. Okay, and configurations. Okay. Someone's just making an announcement. The Fagan-Bradley Ayanamsha is not Vedic. The Lahiri Ayanamsha is Vedic. The current human design gates are already aligned with the fixed stars. Otherwise, 2027 would not be happening at 55.6. That is true. So details. Okay, bunch of mess on here, so I'm not going to even go into that. This is just more of the true sidereal stuff, the impact of sidereal, of people talking about sidereal or not. Okay. I feel it's time to put my pictures up. I'm new to human design, around 1 year. I've never gone deep in astrology. What I'm curious about is, in my astrology chart, do any of you have it so concentrated of the same few houses? And looking at the astrology chart, yeah, everything's in like 4 houses. House 7's a challenge, I guess, with Mars, Uranus, Neptune. Since 18 years old, I'm 36 now. I've been in relationships almost nonstop. Fourth try going on now. Every time a relationship ends, I was happy to be single. This is a split definition person. So yeah, this person is very relational. Gate 48 is their bridging gate. Yeah, they only have one bridging gate. No, they have two bridging gates. Also 57. Yeah, so I'm happy to be single, but never lasted long without someone coming along. Yeah, well, split definition, of course. My life changed a lot when hopping on the roof. I see the trial and error, yada, yada, let me know. So they want to know, their question is if anyone ever sees a chart that's so concentrated. Yeah, I've seen that. I'm not going to really answer that one, so that's not really that important. But yeah, being split definition, this person has 48 and 57 as bridging gates. So that would be interesting. All right, next question. So I'm new to HD and I've been wanting to learn more so I can read my chart. Any suggested books or apps for Androids? And what is transit? What does a transit mean? Well, a transit is when the current planets, it's their current position. I mean, there's always transits. The current planets are always moving along the ecliptic. When you look at the current transits, you're looking at the neutrino weather. You're looking at the positions of the planets in the sky. And when you say that a planet has transited your chart, it just means that it's passed through a particular point along the ecliptic, which may have some significance to you. Like if that planet is the bridging gate for a split definition chart, or if it's the harmonic gate at the end of a hanging gate, and so on. Any suggested books? People are coming suggestions, so that's okay. I have some ebooks I can send you, yada yada. Apps for Android, yeah, I don't know. Can someone help me understand trines? Is this a trine? And then they just posted, it looks like a grand square. No, not a trine. Okay, would anyone like to share your thoughts on what you see in this connection chart? Genetic matrix, yeah, really bad connection charts. I have such a hard time reading them. I guess I can see, okay, they have 2551 is an electro there. I can talk about that. I mean, me having gate 25, like, yeah, like the one person's going to be innocent, the other's going to be shocking them all the time. There's a compromise on intimacy. So the one person that has gate 6 and the other person has the whole channel. The one with only gate 6 is going to have to kind of submit to when the one with the whole channel determines for the intimacy to be. They have an electromagnetic on the 1034, so empowering some personal direction. One person has the 952 format channel, so they're going to kind of dominate in that way and really force the other to focus. Let's see. Hi, I'm a generator, recently introduced to HD, beginning to understand my own design, proud mother of 2 boys, reflector and manifester. What can you tell me about my boys and how should I guide them? If they were generators like myself, I would tell them to listen to your gut and respond to what life throws at you. But with their types, I don't have a clue. Okay, reflector and manifester. What is respect for a reflector, respect for a manifester? Okay, respecting a reflector is not making them draw any conclusions or make decisions too quickly. You simply take them, realize that if you have a defined G center, then you can take them places and see how they feel and if they're comfortable in those places, because for reflectors, it's going to be very important for them to be in the right place with the right community. If you do not have a defined G center, then there's going to have to be somebody else that's going to be the one to help that reflector find their group and find their people. And it's up to the reflector's wisdom and discernment to, through that undefined G center, to really find out, how that happens. And, that's going to be the gist of it for the reflector. For the manifester, you never ask them questions, just inform them. And inform them very clearly. Inform them, if you do this, that will happen. If you do this, this will happen. Inform them, I need you to inform me about this. Inform them, please tell me every time that this and this and this. They don't need to ask permission, they just need to inform you that they want to do something. And you can let them do it or not. Okay. Hi everyone, new to human design, excited to learn, but it's very confusing, would appreciate insight, info, advice, anything you gather from my chart. Generator, strategy, wait to respond, not self-themed frustration, signature satisfaction, definition single, authority sacral, profile 3-5, incarnation cross of service. So this person just wants general information. Okay, well, 1858 is a projected channel. Don't use it unless you're invited, because... Yeah, oh wait, here, let's see. Hi, welcome to Human Design. Lots of info to digest in your chart. More than can be featured in one post. I have a How to Read Your Human Design Chart free course that I created. Are you interested in having the link? Oh, that's nice. Someone, and then no answer. That was 3 days ago. Okay, well, kind of a hit and run. There's a lot of hit and runs in human design. People get into it and then back off. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you say? I mean, this person it's a generator. They're here to wait to respond. Experiment with that. So many different areas to go. There's really no focus there. And sure enough, they have gate 52, the gate of stillness, but they lack gate 9, the gate of focus. Okay, hello, I'm requesting info about professional direction for generator 2-4. I had some inner experiences which revealed to me that I am far, far more than I can ever imagine or learn about. Waking up to the awareness field in which body, mind, blah, 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 la, da, la, trying to integrate imagination within logic. Here are HD and astrology maps. Okay, nothing really much to say there. Professional direction. They're looking for professional direction. Wait to respond. I mean, they're a generator, single definition generator. There are ways to look at, where there are third lines in the chart. This person doesn't have any. Oh my word! This person only has one third line, 2 third lines in the whole chart. They're both unconscious. And where are they? 61. 50. Yeah. So this person has a third line, an unconscious third line, and an undefined center in the head. So I would say. 61-3 in the head can make money. I just posted that for them. There's a little clue. Since it's in a third line activation. I said it's a third line activation and undefined center, so perhaps look into the wisdom of the head and using that wisdom with defined head folks to help them out through your wisdom about their mental clarity or lack thereof. Okay, another post on human design and astrology, Yeska Vuri. Parallel with the book, I don't know what book this is talking about, I'm compiling a PDF file on gaining confidence from the topic of human design. Who would be interested in such a PDF? I will send it to the group as the time will be. And then on the 14th, 10 days ago, news. Okay, I see a lot of people want PDF. So I leave it here using a link to get the PDF file. You receive the file after filling out the form using the link. Let's see. Email address and your Facebook link. Okay, I'm not interested in that. Who didn't write info in Google Forms, write me private message or info in Google Forms. Okay. Yeah, 97 answers. Tons of people saying yes, 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 me, interested, yes, please send, that would be awesome, that's great. So yeah, people using human design to build confidence. Boo. Yeah, sorry. I had to do my little shout out to just boo on that. I mean, what you're going to have is a lot of undefined ego people, and it's probably like a defined ego person, I don't know. I shouldn't do it until I see it. We'll see. But okay. Advice for the quad right with a very open chart. Curious to connect and hear from quad right brothers and sisters. How do you manage to flow your awareness in the left strategy dominant world? This comment from Peter Burv. I'm 3 parts right, and my channel of rhythm is my only conscious channel. The work I do naturally puts me in a receptive state. So I'd say it's about how you position yourself in life according to your design. Yeah, that's true. I'm naturally positioned in an active state. I mean, I'm very left variable, and I naturally find myself. Here's a comment from Ion Nistor. Your design is about empowering your own flow, being in your own rhythm, and allowing your body to be in that rhythm, responding to what gives you joy, doing it as a ritual, and doing it rhythmically. Yeah, because this person has the 515. It attracts people that are loyal to your flow and to what you have to share. Well, I wouldn't use the word loyal because loyalty is more of a tribal concept, but that, very, very well said. Okay. New to HD, as an astrologer, I love it, still learning so much. Here's my design, my feedback is welcomed. I'm here to connect and understand more of this amazing system. Ooh, a cross of explanation, the 43-4. Okay, this is the last one I'll do, and I'll end on this. So gate 43 is a really tough gate to have your personality sun in. That whole channel, it's kind of an interesting one. I mean, this is a classic projector channel. This is actually where we get the classic projector thing from. It's the only I guess not the only one. There's 2 projector channels. There's also the 3740, but it's the only individual projector channel on a opposition. It's one of 3 oppositional channels along with 3420 and 3740, and they all have kind of a special relationship to each other. And the 4323 really wants to structure the world in a way that makes sense, and it can't. I mean, with the 4th line here, it's very much the one-track mind that will stop at nothing to force the world to be structured in a certain way, and kind of unquestioningly, unrelentingly trying to structure it that way. And the 3rd line on that gate 43, though, that's such a tough one. Ra calls it the most suicidal line, even more than the 28-6, or even more than the, it's really this line of the world is so screwed up and the world is so terrible, the world is such a toilet, and you can never clean this toilet that is the world. It'll never be structured in a better way. And it's very much just like, so it's expediency. It's like the willingness to just do whatever to try to get the structure out there, to try to get the recognition for having structured it. Yeah, it's really, it's anyone with their personality sun in gate 43 automatically has 23, so automatically has that projected channel, so automatically has that definition, and it's really tough. The line 3, so this person's on line 4 of gate 43, so it's not really as crazy, but it can still be looking out at the world and going, how am I going to explain myself for this? I mean, the fourth line at least being so fixed and being so prepared to explain things its way isn't really going to question whether its explanation is good or bad or anything. It just, the 4th line always starts with the assumption that the other is wrong, and that the 4th line is correct, and that the 4th line knows the truth and never really questions the truth. This is why it's so important to give 4th lines a strong foundation, because if you raise a 4th line in human design and making correct decisions, great. But if you raise them as a racist or homophobe or this or that, they're never going to change. I mean, it's impossible. It's like a CD-ROM, not a CD-RW. You know what I mean? You can't rewrite the disk for a 4th line. So the foundation that they get is the foundation they have permanently. And their role is to figure out how to transmit that foundation, not to test the foundation or improve the foundation or change the foundation in any way. So that would be kind of my comment there. But yeah, this person says, I'm also on the cross of explanation, meaning another 4323. You're here to vocalize individual expression, but because it's individual expression, it's new to the collective, and your audience may act as if what you're saying is strange or bizarre. Yeah. I'm in my 2nd year and not letting my not self get the best of me when I'm seen as a freak. Oh, that's great. People talking about the 4-6. Sweet. Yeah, there's some good stuff. I might post, let's see, do I still have it open? Let's see. I had a preview. Okay. Yeah, I'm actually just going to post a little bit about that. Okay, well, yeah, State of Human Design, it's going along. Some newcomers, people checking stuff out. Some astrology questions. I'm really glad to see that people are replying, and that, there actually are some good replies here. It's kind of cool to see that, there is an engaged community that is all learning together, and it's like, it's a better community than most classes I've had. I've been in online classes for 7 or 8 years, and it's rare that you find such a vibrant group of 3,000 or 4,000 people where you can get a thread with 90 replies with very in-depth, well-thought-out answers. As much as I talk smack about human design and astrology group, it's cool. It's cool to see. All right, I just posted a couple screenshots about the 43-4 to Tracy Ann. So shout out to Tracy Ann and welcome to Human Design, and hope it's very fruitful for you. Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching.